Well, they'll be able to hear my voice very loud because this is the side that the mic's on.
That's what we like. Who are you this week?
Darth Egrius.
Okay, how do you spell that? Darth Egrius.
That's Darth. And then spell ignoramus, but it's pronounced Igrius.
Who am I again?
I don't know. You're the one who came up with having new ideas. Yam.
I do like yams.
Yam. Ooh. Yam.
Yam.
Cool.
Very hearty.
Hearty.
Is the stream already started?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
What's your name?
Cool. So, hello. Welcome to Dubious Intellectual Yabberings. I guess this week I decided I'm gonna be this character. My name, which is Kami, basically just means God. You know, I just want to be God for a day.
Is it?
Yeah.
Shun or something?
What?
Is it Shun something?
Yeah. In Chinese is sun.
Shun. Wait, which tone?
I think it's like the fourth one. One that goes down. I'm just guessing. I don't know Chinese tones.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Darth Igrius, as
I'm
you can
Yam.
see. And,
What does Darth Icarus even mean? I don't know.
it's a name like a Sith Lord. All the Sith Lords, you know, Star Wars?
No. Cool.
In Star Wars...
End of conversation. You can keep explaining.
Yeah. Star Wars have Darth... Their Vader is a Darth.
There's like the good side, which are the Jedi, and they use
The Darth people
the
are
balance
bad.
in good ways.
Yeah, they're the
and
Sith
then
Lords.
The Sith Lords are
Yeah.
the...
What exactly is it? Sith again?
They're like
So,
evil
do you know the Jedi?
I don't know.
Alright, the Jedi are all the good people, and they represent the Force, like, in the Force, there's good and evil, and the Force must be balanced. So, the Jedi are, like, all good, and then the Sith are all evil to balance out the Jedi. And the Sith generally work in there's one Sith Lord at a given time, and then they take on an apprentice, and then the apprentice, to become the next Sith Lord, you have to kill the previous Sith Lord.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Pretty epic.
Yeah, it is pretty epic. So, considering that all the Sith Lords make that...
Although I feel like if the
not all of them do it, though. Some of the
Really?
apprentices don't make it. I mean, Darth Maul. Darth Maul got killed by Qui-Gon Jinn. So...
Did you?
So do you deal in absolutes?
Yeah, a little bit. Very different though. Do I deal in absolutes?
I just heard that saying somewhere. I feel like.
It seems like I do, as I don't like Darth Ignoramus. I think I'm gonna make it Darth Agrius.
How is?
What? What?
I just don't understand the correlation. Like, how do you get Igrius from ignoramus?
Oh, I was just trying to think of an actual word. Yeah, it's very difficult to think of actual I words. But we've been talking for about 5 minutes and haven't even introduced what we are talking about. So this is the DIY show, Dubious Intellectual Yabberings, like Kami over there said. And we yabber dubiously about intellectual topics, right? Is that a good intro?
Intellectual, more or less.
Pretty
Yeah.
intellectual stuff. Gets pretty high-minded around
Pushes
here.
up glasses. Which we all wear.
That is true.
Intellectually.
So, what's new? Anything exciting? Cool stuff?
I started like watching some shows, I guess.
Ooh,
Yeah,
what
pretty good.
shows?
I started watching like an anime and like a drama. So I was watching for the anime. I was watching one called like Blue Period, which is basically about some guy in high school and he started drawing. And he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna go to art school."
Yeah.
Is
And
that the one
it's
with like the psychological tag and the really nice
Psychological?
art that keeps catfishing me?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's psychological.
I think it might be. I saw like the poster art for it and it looked like, deep and meaningful and edgy. And then I looked at the little description and it was like, this person is like a high school boy and then he suddenly discovers art club and he makes like new friends along the way and discovers like the power of his pencil or whatever.
Is it a sports anime but for art?
That's the gist of what I got from it.
That's what I thought it would be too.
It seems like it'd be cool, just not what I was expecting. How is it?
It's not bad. It's pretty good.
I don't watch sports anime on principle, so should I avoid it? Like, it's kind of...
Well, it's not a sports anime. It's about art. That's not a sport any more than chess is a sport. Probably less.
But I wouldn't watch a chess anime because it'd be a sports anime, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I almost watched that the shoji anime, the one March like a lion.
Yeah, March comes in as lion. Yeah.
Is that good?
I haven't finished it.
I think
I feel like it's like it feels a lot more like literature than other shows, but it's pretty good.
Wait. So does Blue Period feel like March comes in like a lion, or does it feel like Haikyuu?
I feel like it's not as deep as like March comes at lion, but there's like some depth to it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good when people
I do like
can
sports anime.
draw with some depth.
You might even say it gives them perspective.
Yeah. How's your drawing class, by the way?
It's pretty interesting.
What made you want to do drawing?
So, two of my friends are both in different visual arts type classes. One of them is in a graphic design course, and the other one is in a 3D computer animation course. And so I figured I should do something creative and not theory heavy in my last semester of college. So yeah.
Thus you chose to do some observational studies.
Yeah.
For life and stuff.
What is life but observation, really?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. You're making a face.
Oh, no.
Wow, that was really loud.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did that hear that?
See, wouldn't you want to live the unexamined life?
Is that a reference to something? I feel like it is. I just don't remember.
I do.
It is a reference to something,
Do you know what
but
it is?
I don't remember what
You
it
don't
was.
remember? Oh. Dancing Through Life?
I thought you were about to say Dancing with the Stars and completely change my
Or a
perspective.
different reference from the same thing. We could try Defying Gravity.
Huh. I've heard that one.
Oh,
Yep,
it's from
yep.
Wicked.
It's from Wicked.
Oh.
It's the song in
Wicked
which
is
the...
really
Wicked
the
is-
one that came up with Don't You Want to Try Living the Unexamined Life?
I don't know if it came up with it. Well, because living the examined life is a philosophical thing by some author from a while ago. But the prince in Wicked has this whole song about... I don't want to sing it. I can't sing.
You can sing.
Yeah, but we have an audience. What if they listen? What if
All
people...
the more reason.
No, I'm gonna do it bad. Now I'm nervous. We need to get Aiden in here. It's Dancing Through Life. I don't know the next line. Dancing through life.
I believe that the prince in Wicked sang that song.
Yeah. And it's basically all about how you want to live the unexamined life, and not what's a good life is a life where you don't think about anything. He gets better.
Yeah. I think that's a
Lot of
really
growth.
interesting question though, because I feel like it's the best way to reach personal fulfillment to think deeply about the actions that you take and the way you live your life and like how to live your best life, or is it to kind of just live life? Because I feel like you can argue that people who don't think too much about their lives in certain circumstances, are happier than people who spend too much time navel gazing?
I've decided my answer to this in a split decision that is completely contrary to all my other opinions, so I know it must be right.
What's your answer?
I think it's good to examine your life, and probably 99% of the time, before this moment right now, I would say the exact opposite. I would say that people who live an unexamined life and don't really think very much usually are happier, because they don't do the overthinking thing. But thinking on the larger scale, I think some amount of self-examination and reflection is good, because I think that our current society suffers deeply from a lack of that, and just a consistent flitting from one thing to the next, occupying all of your time, having no moments where you are doing nothing, right? So, that's my opinion anyway. And our current society is far unhappier than most of the previous ones. And there are other correlations as well, but that's the one I choose to believe is correct. Alright, Danny, what do you got? Or Kami, sorry.
What? That was very intellectual.
What are your thoughts, Kami?
I
feel like I'm calling you a communist in a very bad American accent. Kami.
I'm just thinking about Death Note, honestly.
Oh, right, yeah. I don't know. I think it's good to examine your life here and there. I feel like even if you're like the type of person who doesn't think about life a lot and like you're like already enjoying life, I feel like everyone has like at least like, I don't know, like a midlife crisis or something along the path. So it's like after you had one like point in your life where you just sat down and thought a little bit, it might just like make your life a little bit more stable afterwards, even if you're not like as like ignorantly happy, I think, overall. Yeah.
I choose to agree with you.
So then, do you think it's good to have periods of reflection and periods of no reflection? Or, I guess another question would be, do you think that then it's more important to have periods of reflection when you're unhappy and less important to have periods of reflection when you are happy? Or do you think it's important to kind of just spread out the reflection regardless of your emotional state?
I feel like cycling and having periods where you're like not as busy and reflecting more is nice. That's kind of what I did when I moved to Florida, because I didn't know what I was going to do, so I just like sat there and thought about life. Yeah.
What conclusions did you reach about life?
I could say we're really drawing pretty deeply into this conversation.
I don't remember at the moment. Maybe next time. Yeah.
This brings me to my second, or our second topic of conversation, my first topic of conversation.
Okay.
You know what would have helped you there? Writing things down. How deeply do you guys take notes? Do you believe in diaries? Do you believe in, what's the word for a diary that isn't as journals? Do you believe in keeping daily records, keeping extreme periods of growth records, no records at all? And what is your justification?
Well, I feel like my system is kind of flawed because I don't do any sort of diary or journaling.
But so you don't do any, and you think that's flawed. So in an ideal world, you would do some. Because you can do that and think that that's the right system.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm a really like, I have sort of like a pretty analytical mind, I feel like. So like, for me to like add anything to my life, right? Like I have to like weigh the pros and cons. And then like the pros and cons are of like journaling is like so amorphous. That's like hard for me to like justify it properly in my mind, for me to like be motivated enough to like actually sit down every day and then try to journal. Because then I sit down, I'm like, what am I supposed to write? Why am I writing this? Like, what am I getting out of this? But I feel like because I don't like journal and like write diaries and like these sorts of things, I'm sort of like less able, I'm just assuming, I feel like I'm less able to like articulate or have like sophisticated opinions about things and stuff like that. Because like most of my knowledge, I feel like is sort of like more in the objective realm. Like I can talk about like computer science, math, and physics and stuff. But then if I'm like giving opinions on like my mood when I'm like walking down the streets and looking at that particular color in that flower in that one spot, I'm just like, never thought about that in my life. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it might make me like
thinking
appreciate
about
life
looking
in a
at
different way.
flowers and colors in a particular spot when I'm walking.
What?
I
Yeah.
was just saying I do a lot of thinking about my mood when I'm walking and looking at a particular color and flower in a spot.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I do think about it, but I feel like it's not as salient to me because like I would just like think about briefly versus like someone who would actually like go back and reflect on that as they're writing their diary or whatever. Because like by the next day, I probably will not remember like that experience probably.
Mm.
Yeah.
What about you, Yam?
I once wanted to be the kind of person where I could write a diary entry every single day. And then I also wanted to diary write frequently to practice narrative skills, because something that I am not so great with is recounting or describing things that happen. I mostly tend to focus on the ideas that I'm having at the time or the feelings that I'm having and try to work through those. So I think that diary is very interesting as like a narrative device, especially if you think about like older diaries that are actually published by writers, or like the Diary of Anne Frank, that kind of thing. It reads like a story. And I don't know if it's just because people thought about the world differently then.
Well, the Diary of Anne Frank was written as a story.
Wasn't it? I thought it was just bits of her diary that
No.
were edited and published.
She wrote 2 separate diaries, one for public consumption and one for herself. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wait,
Okay,
she wrote 2 diaries?
Yeah, she did.
Wow.
Yep.
You pulling my leg?
No. She was. I mean, like, she's literally trapped in an attic for like
Okay.
X amount of years, right? Got to think of something to do.
Yeah. Maybe that makes some difference. I mean, I've only really read the diaries of people who write, so it would make sense that they write a diary in a narrative way, expecting to be read at some point.
A lot of like 19th century fiction was written, like the first novels were all written as epistolary novels, right?
Yeah.
People would think of writing like fiction in written documents that people would believe were true, right? So the only 2 things that you'd actually write would be letters or diaries, right? So the first forms of fiction were both letters and diaries. Very interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And if you read any of those epistolary novels now from like the mid 18th century, boy are they boring. But let me tell you, back in the day they were scandalous, they were saucy. Benjamin Disraeli, famous author, famous politician, crazy dude. Anyway, I don't want to get too off topic.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the whole journaling or diary keeping thing?
I have found journaling to be very helpful in my life.
Have you been journaling more recently?
No. At various points, it has been especially helpful during times of struggle and strife. And I actually have updated, just because of how helpful it was, at irregular intervals, but I have not journaled in a long time. I feel like it's probably been about 6 months to a year. And generally when I journal daily, I do find it pretty helpful, but at this point in my life, I feel like it would take up too much time, because if I'm only journaling for 5 minutes, I'm not really going to get the depth that I want. But if I journal for 30 minutes, I would get the depth that I'm looking for, but it would take up a lot of time. But I've heard of various different points, and I know Michael journals every day.
Oh, really?
I don't know if he still does, but he used to, and he really thought it helped a lot, both with like reflection and also just because he wanted to know what would happen, so he can look back and actually remember what happened. And what he would also do is he would read a journal entry from a month ago every single day. So he would like kind of get a picture of himself in a previous time. Yeah. He would sort of understand himself a little better, right? And looking back at, and I do more frequently than I pick up journaling again. I look back at my old journals just to kind of see what type of person I was at a given time, because it does change a lot more than you'd think. And one of the other good things about journaling is you won't actually forget it, you know, because memory is a fickle beast. So
that is true. Yeah, I think it is very interesting to journal just for the ability to look back and read about the things you were thinking or doing or the kind of person you were.
I address my journals to myself in the future. So
I don't do that.
All of my journals are written to myself in the future. So
do you feel like your journalistic tone has shifted over the years? Like when you read something from when you were in, say, 10th grade, does that feel like a different person or a different person?
Yeah, in 10th grade, yep. I mean, just a little bit. Small things. Yeah. I'm still the same person, but, like, I would write something and I would just, like, shake my head at it. But when I was in 10th grade, I was like, I know my future... Well, actually, maybe I just knew it all along. Because in 10th grade, I'm like, oh, I know my future self is going to shake my head at this. So I kind of like to, when I'm writing, I like to play jokes on my future self to try to annoy them. So it helps me calm down if I'm screwing with myself just in the future. Yeah, I like when I'm writing, thinking of my future self reading it and being like, wow, this guy's an idiot. So that's a lot of fun.
I feel like when writing, I often didn't want my future self to think that I was an idiot, but I was pretty sure that I was going to think I was an idiot.
Yeah, I definitely thought that way sometimes. It's either that or I'm just completely at peace with, you know, knowing that I would think I was a clown.
These are all the joys you could experience if you began journaling today. Sponsored by Moleskine. Pay us.
Alright, I think we're on Exoplanet of the Week. What do you think? Kami, you think we're too early? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, let's do Exoplanet.
Okay. The Exoplanet of...
Should we explain it or... Never mind. What?
Are we explaining it first? Well, every podcast...
They should know it by now. If they were listening last week.
Yeah, or the week before that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
That's an old DDA joke.
10 to the power of 10. Yeah, Exoplanet of the Week is pretty self-explanatory.
What letters and numbers combinations do we have today?
Yeah, let's hear it.
The exoplanet of this week is 51 Pegasus b. Unofficially, tentatively named Bellerophon.
Does it? Oh,
but it actually
Pegasus.
Right. It actually has an actual name now. Which is like Didymian or Dimidian or I don't know the reference.
Is there like a naming system for all the numbers and stuff you guys apply to? What's it based off of? So
it's based off the surveys that are done. So let's say that some guy called Harry Draper does a survey of like a bajillion stars. Each star is named HD, and then the number star it is in the catalog. So it'd be like HD 10,400, right? And for every planet that orbits that star, it'd be HD 10,400 A, B, C, D, in terms of distance from the star. And that usually also corresponds with... Actually, I think it might be in terms of discovery, but they try to make it distance from the star, which also usually correlates with discovery because it's easier to find stars that are larger and closer to... planets that are larger and closer to the star.
But haven't they found pretty much all the stars, or a lot of the stars, they're going to find? So... when you're finding an exoplanet, aren't you just finding an exoplanet that is then named after a different survey because they've already found the star and you're just finding the exoplanet?
Yeah. So that's why some stars have multiple names because they've been catalogued in multiple surveys. The exoplanet that I talked about last week, which is actually GJ273b, is also known as Luyten b because the star is GJ273 or Luyten star. Yeah.
Now,
Some stars that are particularly fancy get particularly fancy names.
are there stars in the sky that we have the ability to see by our telescopes, but we have not cataloged? Like, is the sky that big?
I think that it's a matter of resolution of the telescope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because there are definitely all-sky surveys that map the entire sky that is visible, but I'm not sure if by all-sky they mean, like, all-sky from the telescope or all-sky from, like, literally the celestial sphere around the Earth.
Well, we've definitely mapped the celestial sphere at this point, at least for visible light.
Yeah, it just depends on, like, to what depth.
Okay, tell us about Pegasus.
Oh yeah, so Pegasus 51b was the first exoplanet discovered orbiting a main sequence star. So main sequence stars are stars like the sun, that are kind of like in the middle of their lifetime. They haven't like exploded and turned into white dwarfs or whatever yet. And it is the archetype for the hot Jupiter type of exoplanet, which is like a Jupiter type exoplanet in terms of size and composition, but it orbits incredibly close to its host star. So we're talking about an orbital year of maybe 4 days. And previously they thought that would be impossible because the gassiness of the planet would be too close to the heat of the star and the gas would all just evaporate away. But apparently it is possible, and there are among the most common types of exoplanets that have been found simply because of the way that the planets are found. And so the way Pegasus 51b was found was through radial velocity detection. And what that means is you take like a spectra of the star, and the spectra shows certain like absorption lines at certain elements. And you measure the shifts in those absorption lines over time. And you kind of want to see like a sinusoidal shift. And that indicates that the star is being pulled by the mass of another object, probably a very giant planet that is close by it. And that's kind of how you confirm the presence of planets through radial velocity. Yeah.
Bellerophon.
I think it was discovered in... It was like 1991, 92... It was like 20-something years ago.
That's pretty impressive to discover an exoplanet before there was like actual
It was first
computers.
theorized that exoplanet... They totally existed. It was first theorized that exoplanets existed in 1917.
Well, doesn't seem very hard to theorize that exoplanets exist. That's a little late, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure someone thought of it before then.
I have a really cool exoplanet to talk about next time. Well, system of exoplanets.
Now, that was definitely the most interesting event to happen in 1917.
We'll get to that in like 20 minutes. Yeah.
All right, what's the next topic?
Oh,
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So my drawing teacher thinks that there are two types of people. There are shape people and there are line people. Which one are you guys?
I feel like they're just two different concepts. Like, I say I'm more of a... Yeah, there's like people talk about like having lines versus like where you just like make line drawings and gestures and stuff, I guess, versus like painters probably. They don't deal as much with lines. They deal more with like masses and stuff. I don't know. I feel like it's a weird way to categorize people for painting because like everyone uses both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would be more of a line person just because I don't really have much experience like painting and stuff like that. So I like to be precise with the pencil.
I don't believe in putting people in boxes. Therefore, I'm a line.
Well, Ian doesn't really draw, so.
Exactly.
Well, wouldn't the box have lines that constrain you?
Oh.
No. Box is a shape.
Maybe
Lines
that means
form the basis of
maybe that
everything.
means that I'm a line person because I think of a box as lines. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that does.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that means.
Do you feel like you've gotten to know yourself a little better? Now you can say with confidence, I am this or that type of person.
I don't think so. I think that's how it works. Disagree.
Oh,
Yeah,
I have another question. So how do you push up your glasses?
Huh?
What's like your go-to way of pushing up your glasses?
I don't know. My glasses fall a lot, unfortunately.
Yes,
It's kind of
mine.
loose.
I feel like you don't have this problem.
No, they fall a lot.
Really?
Yep. I just am so put together that you don't even notice when I push up my glasses.
Okay.
I can tell you how you're not supposed to push up your glasses.
How?
I do that sometimes, I think. I don't know.
Depends on the company.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just like this.
Oh, I go like this.
No. You gotta go in the middle. You don't get a
It's
good
too
push up. It
asymmetrical.
won't stay.
Your glasses gonna be hanging off like this.
I feel like
Yeah. You need to get it in there.
I feel like if I do it like this, I push it too close to my face, and also it's like a difficult thing to aim for. You know, like here it's a lot more. There's a lot more room.
I just
for error.
know where it is. I just know it's right there. It's like the sixth sense. You know, they say that you have a sense about where your whole body is at any given time. Yeah.
I guess some people are more blessed in that regard than others.
Yeah. Well, I got 7 senses, so take that.
This feels very reminiscent of those like awkward Zoom silences, which I have experienced 4 of today.
You see, Yam.
One in every class.
The difference between you and me is that I am comfortable in a silence. Well, you feel it is awkward. I believe I can plug the gap of the silence at any time. I'm just giving you guys the opportunity to attempt.
Yeah, so I was watching a drama lately. It's called
Oh yeah, we never heard about
Yeah,
the
I
drama
did
you were
want to
watching.
hear. Tell us more.
Is it a
I'm like
Kindle?
4 episodes in. It's called The Legend of the White Snake. It's pretty good.
Oh,
We
so
were looking
we
at
tried
that.
to watch what is it called?
Green Snake.
Green Snake?
It's a movie on Netflix that
yeah,
is
except it's a sequel.
that is not really clearly labeled as a sequel, but it is the second in a series of 2 films.
And it's an adaptation of the same legend.
Yes.
Except
Oh.
from,
No, it's the second one. So it must be.
I guess it's like a spin-off of
I don't know.
an adaptation.
There's a movie
of the
that
same
came
legend.
before it that is not on Netflix, and
Yeah.
it is on Netflix. So we did not watch Green Snake, but we were going to.
I feel like there's an even older movie, right?
Of course. I mean, there's a TV show that Danny's talking about. It's good. So should we watch it?
Yeah, it's really good. Actress is pretty cute too. So
Like
I recommend.
you highly recommend?
Yeah, it's pretty good so far. It was made in 2019, so
Oh.
it's nice.
That's a good sign.
Yeah,
Have you seen The King's Avatar?
that's an anime, right? I think.
Yeah, but they also made a live action. I like the live action. You didn't.
Thought it was okay.
I haven't seen it.
Apparently, the anime is a lot better than the live action.
It's Chinese. It's made by Tencent
Oh.
to promote their, at that point, recent acquisition of League of Legends. But it's not about League of Legends, but it's about video games. So, yeah.
You would recommend that?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really good.
Okay.
I think it's really interesting that on a lot of East Asian media these days, there are these shows about people who play games, and it's depicted as like a very cool thing.
That
Like
was
you have a lot of social prestige.
Yeah, that was probably the best thing it's also the closest thing to a sports anime I've ever seen. It's a sports
It's a
anime.
sports
God
anime.
damn it, it's a sports anime. But it's the best thing I've seen that depicts people like playing video games professionally in a setting. So
Is this like Is this was did Giga talk about it in a video? Because I remember Giga made a video.
Oh, you know what? I think he might have.
About like video
Giga.
games.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very good. Giga approved on this podcast.
Is Giga YouTube?
Yeah, he reviews anime. He's the one I like too. He's the guy who does like the top anime of X season. I watch it every season because I want to know what's going to be good. And I don't really agree with all of his recommendations, but I usually watch at least one show based off of watching the thing. So, although there doesn't look to be anything good this season, so.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a general decline in interesting anime.
It's ever since the Odd Taxi season.
Do you think we're just aging out of anime?
No, it is definitively worse since the Odd Taxi season. It had Odd Taxi, Link Click. It had like
Link
10.
Click is pretty good.
Yeah, and those two shows were like under the radar that season.
Yeah. I finally got the name of the show that my friend showed me.
What?
I don't remember the name. It's like a Chinese animation that's coming out that's really good. I have it on my phone, but I'm not allowed to look at my phone.
Yeah, no phone.
It's a no phone hour.
Well, I guess we'll find out that soon.
Next episode.
Okay, another recommendation. Danny, do you read comics / webtoons?
Not that much.
All right.
I read Yasumi Fufu and One Punch Man and stuff. That's about it.
Would you agree with me as to my top recommendation?
Hooky?
Yeah. Is that your top recommendation?
Yeah, Hooky's pretty good.
All right. What's it called?
Hooky.
Hooky?
Yeah.
It's by a Spanish artist.
It's by, I have no idea what the language of the artist is, but it's by, it's about two twins who are witches, and they miss the bus to magic school on the first day, and, you know, don't make it to magic school, so they're playing hooky. But it's a completed one. It's an excellent story, great cast of characters, very realistic, still humorous, not as funny as Cursed Princess Club or
Love Advice from the
Great Duke of Hell,
That's
which
really
is
funny.
the funniest thing I've ever seen. But it has more of a real story, and it means something, which is good. If I were to buy a comic, a physical copy of it, that would be the one I would get. Of all of them. But Love Advice from Great Duke of Hell would be good too, yeah.
I picked that one.
Yeah. So, Love Advice from Great Duke of Hell.
Is it Great Duke of Hell or Grand Duke of Hell?
I don't know.
It's like some G adjective.
Love Advice from a Great Duke of Hell is a oh god, this keeps ripping.
That's what you like to hear.
Is a webtoon about a guy who summons a Great Duke of Hell to give him love advice, trades his soul to get relationship advice. And the humor, like, it sounds like a funny premise, but whoever is writing this thing just is so funny. Like, literally the funniest human being I've ever imagined on the planet. Like, I've never laughed out loud for a piece of media as much as I've laughed out loud for this. Like, I was just reading it through, like, I'd be sitting by myself and I'd just be laughing out loud. I'd be like, what is going on? It's very funny. I'm looking forward to when I forget about it enough that I can read it again. So.
Yeah, I haven't caught up to it. It went on hiatus for a while. But
I think it got more plot driven. I haven't read it in a while.
It is more plot driven now.
Yeah, but it was really good. It still is really good, but it was sick. That's the thing. Hooky never decreases in quality. The thing's good all the way through. Alright, those are my 2 recommendations.
Are we recommending books now? I thought we did that at the end.
Books? No. Oh.
These are comics.
Sorry, yeah.
Which are books, but
alright,
not
next topic. Superhero powers. What would be your superhero power? You can't choose.
We talked about it last week.
What?
I feel like we talked about this.
I know, but we didn't talk about this on air.
Superpowers?
Yeah, I also don't remember it, so I want to have a record of it.
Oh. Okay, what's your superpower?
I don't want to go first. The person who asked the question always goes last. That's the rule.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
I'm just trying to be dubious here, but okay, if you say so.
No, I just made it. It's the rule now.
Yeah.
Boom, you go first.
I think from a very young age, I always wanted to be able to read other people's minds, and I still think that'd be cool, but I also feel like there'd be some serious question marks about that. So I think I would like to be able to fly. Or to read things really quickly. Those are
Like
my top two.
omniscient reader.
Yeah.
Really? That's what you're going with? Alright. Well.
I think it would also be really cool to be able to teleport, but I think that would be bad for me.
Yeah, you would get destroyed.
I'd probably like teleport into a tree, like inside a tree or something like that. It'd be miserable. Anyway, Kami.
Yeah, what about you, Kami?
Yeah, I would just pick time travel. I feel like that would be most fun. I would just go back and like relive my life, but with extra knowledge, I would make some different decisions. You know, maybe I would ask someone out, see how it goes, and then if something like not so good happens, I just rewind.
You know, you can do that tomorrow, and if something wrong happens, just move to another country.
Or just ask someone else out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think you could definitely do that. I'm gonna choose the power control over the distances between things and general spatial dimensions. So it would give me effective teleportation, while also giving me the ability to craft liminal spaces.
I
Because
feel
I
like
could
that's
extend
cheating,
space as well as
but it's pretty cool.
contract space.
Okay.
I kind of want that power too.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be able to eat so much stuff.
Well, it's just really cool because if you contract space between yourself and a given point, you essentially teleport there, and if you extend space in a given area, you can essentially create a bag of holding or like create your own liminal space that you can go into.
Yeah.
I don't
You can
know.
also sort of like time travel a little bit with like special relativity and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
That's true.
So,
Running into the future.
yeah. Pretty cool.
I still think it'd be cool to fly.
Yeah, well, I stole my power from your power, so. Because we all know I would actually have a very bland power. I have to make the best of it.
What? So if you were to have a superpower based off kind of, you know, your general lot and luck level in life, and also kind of the person that you are, and it had to be something trivial and somewhat comical, what do you think it would be?
What?
It has to be comical?
Not necessarily comical, but for example, the ability to, I don't know, turn whatever you want the color green.
You could go so far with that. You have no idea. So is this a world in which lots of people have superpowers?
Yeah.
Or nobody has superpowers?
A lot of people have superpowers.
well,
How about both worlds?
Okay. Well, the thing is like any power, even something as trivial as to turn anything you want green, if you can do it instantaneously, like you could really, really wreak some havoc in a world where there are no superpowers because you're bending the laws of physics even a little bit. You're like, you're breaking some laws, right?
It could also just be you always know whatever size something will fit you.
You always know what...
So it could be clothing, it could be like a gap in a fence, it could be a locker.
I was actually making a world where people have extremely trivial and tiny superpowers. Pretty cool world.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kami.
Um,
What do you think yours would be?
I don't
Do you
know.
want- Do you want me to go first? I can go first, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I would have one of... This one's bent. Oh no. That can't happen.
the ability to always apply things
God,
in parallel.
I would love that ability, and it doesn't fit me at all.
For reference, Darth Grease is trying to stick cat stickers onto his desk.
So the two powers I would have is I would either have the power to make...
Which I think is actually your old desk, by the way. Sorry, keep going.
Oh, yeah, this is your desk.
Wait, that's my desk?
Yeah, we took your desk. Also, I think you have my ping pong paddle.
I don't remember.
Well, if you have it, let me know, because otherwise I lost it somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know where.
Yeah, also your mom gave me your bed frame.
Yeah.
I've sent you.
Oh yeah, so I'd have one of two powers. I would either have the power to make people feel completely at ease. So I'd be able to like just chat with them and make them feel, at ease, so I could commit nefarious crimes. Or I would have the make the power to chat at people and make them feel very sleepy, but I wouldn't be able to turn it off. So that would be my second power. It's one of those two. Do you imagine how horrible that would be? That'd be it'd be such a useful power, but it would just really stink.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to ask people out on dates with that power?
You literally couldn't make friends. It wouldn't be possible. Like, you literally could not make friends. I mean, there'd have to be some restrictions. It only works in person. You could be Twitch streamer. Yeah.
You can't turn it off?
Yeah, you can't turn it off. That's part of the power. So, the one where you make people feel at ease, you can turn off because it's a cool power. But the other one, at that point, why do you even get a power, right? All right, what do you got, Kami?
I don't really think about trivial superpowers. But
They're too trivial for you?
Yeah. I guess I would just get like a trivial time travel power. So what would that be like? Like I can rewind time like a second. Yeah. If I'm like really precise, maybe I can make something useful happen. Yeah.
So you can rewind time a second, but you can't chain it, right?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I guess like to make it.
It has a cooldown time of 2 seconds.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it takes more mental energy to like just use it than whatever benefits I'll get from it. I don't know. Yeah, I can. Maybe if I'm like playing a game or something, or just like, oh, that's the wrong move.
Oh, blunder.
Like, I'm playing chess.
Yeah, maybe 5 seconds would be a little more fair.
Yeah.
I think 1 second is
like
too useless. I think 5 seconds is fair. A lot can happen in 5 seconds. You can get shot in 5 seconds.
It's true.
Because if you rewind it 1 second, there's not a lot you can do to change your thing because you have to rewind it and then react to the rewinding it. But I feel like 5 seconds is chill. Or what do you got?
Yeah, I don't really have very much. I think maybe I could have perfect pitch, but for straight lines or angles. So I just like know what angle something is at, so I can put things into straight lines.
That's really
cool. That's so helpful.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Cause like sometimes I don't like drawing because it just feels so tedious to like measure things out and stuff.
Do you also draw things? Can you?
No, I just know that it's the straight line. My ability with everything else remains the same as I currently am. So I feel like it could be really helpful, but it could also be really annoying because I know that it's just like not a straight line, but I know what the line is meant to be. But I think
it'd be very useful.
Stick that. Okay.
I think you'd be a very good assassin.
I think I'd be a good architect.
Yeah, well, one of the two. We can agree to disagree. All right, I think it is time for a history lesson of the week. What are we talking about today?
Do we give the decade and the Or the
country, whatever
or
you
the
want.
decade, right?
Yeah.
What do we want to do this week? Decade or country? We could do 1917.
What happened in 1917?
First theorized existence of Exoplanet.
Oh. Okay. Cool.
You really want to do 1917?
I mean, yeah.
You want to do 1917?
I mean, how much time do I have to talk about it?
You have to pick one fun fact. It's not all of
No,
1917.
I'm going to pick all of 1917. There's a lot that happened in 1917.
It's the fun history fact of the week. It's like one exoplanet per week, one history fact. So you give the history fact.
You
and then
give me the
elaborate
time
on it.
limit, and I'll talk about the history. I don't tell you what exoplanet to choose, but you tell me what history.
Okay, how much time do we want to give him?
Oh, I'm really doing 1917.
5 minutes.
5 minutes exactly?
Sure.
Okay. Alright, are you ready?
Yep. All right, so do you guys know what happened in 1917? Anyone?
Something to do with World War One.
That was like 1914, right? I don't know.
It was still
good
happening,
job.
right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was still
1914.
happening.
1914 is the beginning of World War One. All right, so we got the beginning of World War One. Do we know of anything that happened during World War One? It involves a specific country that I tend to know a lot about.
America?
Russia?
Russia.
It was a very red year for Russia.
Was it the thing where like the Reds and the Whites were doing the
No, that was
things?
a little later.
Oh, the assassination of the Romanovs. The killing of
No,
the
actually,
Romanovs.
that happened after 1917. Is the Russian Revolution, guys? The October Revolution.
That didn't happen. The Romanovs weren't killed during the revolution.
I think they got hunted down in like 1918. I could be wrong though. We'd have to Google it, but that wouldn't be allowed. No, I think they got killed over the winter afterwards when
Yeah, the
Lenin
got killed in the winter.
Yeah, well, when Lenin and the Reds were like, "Oh, we're gonna lose. Let's just kill the Romanovs anyway," but then they won anyway, so that their enemies would stop fighting. Like if they killed the royal family, everyone would be disheartened. Although I don't think Lenin ordered it directly. I don't know. I'd have to look into the history. Yes, it was the Russian Revolution, which is a foundational event in 20th century history. Of all of the events in 1917, this is one of the most significant, and that's really saying something because 1917 was a freaking big year, like a massive year. It was World War One. You know, things were happening everywhere, things were going on, people were doing stuff. I think something was happening in Korea too, like you know, Japan might have been in there, like
Japan is often in many places.
yeah, especially Korea. So yeah, big year. But if we're gonna talk about the October Revolution, I think we can talk about communism and a misconception about communism, right? So people often are like, Lenin was a true communist, but if we go back to what true communism is, this is a history lesson. Does anyone know true communism? Does anyone wanna venture a guess?
It's Marx and Engels.
Wrong. True communism was whatever the communism in the country that you're in is. You'd be executed in Russia. But yes, no. The original communism is Marx and Engels and their theory of the proletariat rising over the bourgeoisie as previous classes had in the most industrialized societies in Europe. And actually it was...
When was that published? 1917?
There's a specter haunting Europe. No, way earlier than that. In the 1800s, I think like 1870 or 1850s on the Communist Manifesto. But by the time Lenin was running around, communism had shifted, right? And it was still that, and that was the main branch of communism. And it had shifted into several different camps. There were the socialists who were like, let's peacefully bring about a communist society, and they didn't want to have revolution.
Communism.
And in Russia specifically, which was a largely agrarian society, there were two camps. There were the people who were like, we must industrialize so we can reach the point at which Marx and Engels told us the proletariat will revolt. And then there was Lenin, who named his party the Bolsheviks, which is the big party, even though they were smaller than the other party.
Bolshoi.
who believed that they must bring about the communist revolution at any point, even though Russia doesn't have any industrialization at all. And this brings me to the fundamental truth of communism. It is a theory of history that believes itself to be correct so much, but is only correct by people affecting it so. It posits itself as like almost a dogma in a religion, where it's like, this must happen because this is the way life is. But it doesn't really work out that way. Never has there been a communist revolt in a heavily industrialized society. What were you going to say?
You should keep talking and I'll ask questions at the end.
No, I'm good. I just wanted to get out that the Russian Revolution was not really a communist revolution in the traditional sense. But it is the most important communist revolution of the 20th century. Besides Mao. Or maybe instead of Mao. I don't know. It's tough. It's toss-up between those two. Alright, how was that?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Wait, so the last sort of thing you said about the Communist Manifesto was a lot of words.
There's a specter haunting Europe.
No, the thing you said after that.
It was published in like the 1850s or 70s or something like that.
You said something about it being like a history that...
Oh, it's a prescriptive history. So the Communist Manifesto, which by the way I would encourage everyone out there to read it because it's a great read and it's very short actually, and it was intentionally made so very short.
Do you mean that it's a prescriptive history and that it is a historical document that says what happened in the past is going to cause this thing to happen in the immediate future?
Are you going to say an or no?
No, that's my question.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in a way. And it's historical in two senses, three senses actually, in the fact that one, it's a historical document that existed in history and you can examine the history behind the Communist Manifesto. Two, it's a historical document that affected a massive variety of other pieces of history and can be studied in conjunction with so many different things. Probably the most influential piece of literature since the Bible, right? And actually no, since the Quran, probably, because the Bible came before the Quran. So the Quran I would consider is more influential than the Communist Manifesto. It's a toss up. Those are pretty close. Those are pretty close. Depends on how you measure historical influence. And three, it itself is a piece of historical scholarship. Marx and Engels, when writing the Communist Manifesto, were positing a way to understand history that had hitherto not been... Did I use yeah, is that the correct use of hitherto? Not been posited.
Possibly?
And it in fact completely changed the way not just history, but a lot of sciences and like different fields looked at the problems and questions that they would look at. It was a new way of looking at history that was just unlike anything else, and is specifically as a struggle of class, right? As a struggle of one class against the next. It's a struggle of oppressors and
so would you say that there hadn't
oppressed.
been really economic readings of history before that? Or do you think that
no, there definitely
class
have.
struggle aspect of economics was the innovative thing?
Well, Adam Smith came before Marx and Engels, so there absolutely had been economic studies of history, but I think that was one of the first histories that struck that type of dialectical model with such vigor, I guess. And
such aplomb.
Yeah, and the big thing, and this is why instead of just being a thing, like they were not historians. The purpose of the Communist Manifesto was to affect the current times, and it was to change people's mind, and it was to say that this revolution of the proletariat is inevitable. That was a fundamental part of Marx and Engels. They believed that eventually the working class's conditions would get so bad that, like the bourgeoisie before them, they would rise up against the oppressing class, to fundamentally create a fifth version of human society in which all people would be equal and life would be good. It was a utopian view of history. It was a really interesting thing. Crazy that it popped off. No proof whatsoever. Sounds really nice though. The subsequent, 150 years of death, murder, famine, every bad thing under the sun, in the name of communism, did tarnish the reputation a little bit, though. So,
just a little.
Yeah. People still believe, though.
Communism. What are your thoughts, commie?
But no one's a Marxist anymore. Everyone has their own little tinge, because Marxism is fundamentally unbelievable, because the point at which it would have happened has already passed. We're no longer in an industrial society. So.
Wait, what kind of society were we in now?
A post-industrial society.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched some YouTube video where they said that like we might be in like another industrial revolution type thing with like AI and stuff. I don't know.
I wouldn't call
like
it
a technological revolution?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
They might be right. I mean, that's totally true. So, could be. I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a computerist, whatever the word is.
I feel like I've heard it said that the technological revolution happened in, I guess, the early 2000s, and now we're in the middle of it was like a data revolution, or like a something to do with social networks online and large internet-y type things.
I mean, it depends on your view of history. Some would say we're in a recession into a previous dark age of ignorance and human... I don't know. I can't finish that sentence in a proper way. I was gonna work with filth, but I don't feel like that really captured what I meant.
So, like, as a historian, Ian, what's your view of the future?
My view of the future is that people too often use history to inform their decisions of the future, thinking about history as they would think about economics. Like, they would draw, or statistics, sorry. They would draw statistical conclusions about history while history just doesn't contain a big enough data set. So I think by asking me that question, I really, on principle, have to refuse to answer, because I don't want to be like that.
I feel like this is a very different answer you gave from the first time you explained to me why you were interested in history.
What did I say?
Because by learning from history, we can understand the mistakes of the past.
Yeah, I've discovered that
making a better
that
future.
one of the biggest mistakes of the past is trying to understand the mistakes of the past.
Hey, I thought when I asked you, you just said that like you learned history for the story. It's a cool story.
I just like history. It's fun. No, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things you can learn from history. You can't draw too much conclusions because it's like...
very specific to the context.
Yeah, it's very specific to the context. There are a lot of things. You can't ever say, this happened in history, so this is like what's going to happen in history. And it's like democracies will always triumph over fascist societies. People who say that are idiots, right? Well, they're not idiots. They can be very smart, but they're misinformed. What I can tell you is that our current society does resemble different societies in the past, and people who make comparisons to the rise of fascism are probably a little overzealous right now, while at the same time there are interesting parallels to think about. As far as the technological revolution and its parallels with the Industrial Revolution, there are tons. That is a much bigger correlation than I think than most others of our modern time. And should it continue on the same course, the only I see the biggest diversion is the concentration of power within rich people, right? Because there was a high concentration of power within rich people in the Industrial Revolution, and one of the things about the Industrial Revolution is it created massive economic inequality that was only solved by good people doing good things, and trying to stop stuff like that happening. And right now we're reaching that same point, albeit with everyone's living standards a lot better. But there is a lot less avenues for individuals to make a change in our society, by the nature of our democracy, and even more by the nature of our information technology. Big tech controls pretty much the world. So, yep.
Yeah.
All right, we have time for one more topic, I think. I feel like I've talked for too long, so let's switch the topic.
Okay. I have a question.
Okay.
I feel like we don't have enough time to go to depth, but hypothetically, if I was like interested in creative writing, like you two as writers, like what kind of advice would you give? Like, how does one get into creative writing? What?
Write whatever, write as much as you can, and do a little bit every day.
Do you have a project that you're passionate about?
You don't have to be, also.
No, I don't really.
Passion is a very strong word.
Yeah. I don't really have any like ideas to like that are urgent right now to write about. I was thinking in the future, maybe I would like want to write some sort of fantasy novel, because I feel like whether or not I make like something that's worth reading, it's gonna just like, I feel like right now I just like don't really have much experience or skill sets, because like in my head I will like want to make something that has like the whole world built with a bunch of theories and stuff. It's gonna take a bunch of like time to craft everything out, but yeah, I don't know. That's a future goal.
I mean, are you more drawn towards the world building aspect or the story? Because if world building is really what interests you, you could just build the world, and you don't have to write it in a fancy way. You could just do bullet points.
I got the suggestion.
Then if there's a particular story within the world that you find is interesting, you can revisit that and follow like the one character or the one story through the world.
I feel like I need to get a general view of like what creative writing is. So like, what are your guys' perspective on writing?
I started creative writing in school in 3rd grade when our teachers were like, we're gonna do creative writing now. This is like the structure of a story, the orientation, the catalyst, you progress to the climax, then you have the denouement, and this is like the arc that you're meant to follow. Here's an exercise.
We didn't have a lot of these words in America.
They probably.
I'm just saying it right now.
They probably use slightly simpler words for 3rd graders. And then we kind of just wrote. And then one of my teachers was like, "This is a really nice story. Good work." And then I kept writing. It's all about the positive feedback reinforcement loop.
I had the opposite experience. In 5th grade, I wrote what was essentially a fan fiction in my notebook about angels who had different elements, and they were very cool. And one of them was like a he was cool. And I showed it to my teacher, and because I am and have always been very perceptive of people's feelings, I could tell that he did not like it. And I didn't write another thing for 2 years. So again, positive feedback. But after that, in 7th grade, I had played a game with my cousin where we pretended to be different.
Was this the element game?
Different people with elements who could, like, basically Avatar, right? But there was dark and light, so it's not Avatar, right? But there was someone who's the Avatar, but it is an Avatar. I just wrote the whole story down. Actually, I continued from a previous point. So I just started writing, and I just kept writing, and I drew maps of what I had been writing, and then I wrote other stories. The best advice is to just start writing and keep writing, which is pretty amorphous advice. So the best concrete advice I will give you is to go on YouTube and Google Brandon Sanderson and search Brandon Sanderson and watch his lectures. You can watch just his first lecture, and he'll tell you straight up something that is very nice that made me feel very good, compared to Iwe over here, who's an excellent writer, is that he said that you don't have to be very talented. There are tons of extremely talented writers who end up not being writers. The people who are writers, you can be good
and then get a great editor.
No, you can be good, and all you have to do is actually write. There are tons of people who are very, very skilled but don't actually write. The secret is actually writing. So sometimes I need to take my own advice, but Brandon Sanderson is beast. He is my favorite author, and additionally my favorite. He's a fabulous lecturer. So I certainly wish I was Mormon and grew up and then went to Brigham Young.
Does he teach that?
Yeah, he teaches at Brigham Young. Yeah.
But you can only go there if you're Mormon.
No, you can go there if you're not Mormon, but you only go there if you're Mormon.
Interesting.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. It's very good. He's very good. Yeah, and write. Those are the only two pieces of advice.
Writing is the hardest thing about writing.
What'd you say, Danny?
So, what kind of qualities would you guys say makes a piece of writing good?
Not overdoing it.
It's not about being good at this point, first of all. But second of all...
Wait. Oh, you can finish what you were going to say.
I would say that the quality I look for the most is someone who's aware.
What did you do to your voice?
Here's now.
Okay. Yeah, it's better.
Someone who is aware, right? Like someone who actually understands what they're saying.
So the way my father explained writing to me when I was very small was that when you write, you go through 3 stages. And the first stage is where you have a mountain and you describe the mountain as a mountain. And then the second stage is where you have the same mountain and you describe it, in very beautiful language. You use a lot of similes and literary techniques and whatever. And that's the second stage. And then when you get to the third stage, you describe the mountain as a mountain again.
Okay. Yeah. I think I remember something similar when I was reading about Asian religion, and they'd be like, when you're searching out for enlightenment, you're before enlightenment, you just feel it out.
Yeah.
Your dad reading some book about Asian religion, and literally he comes up and he's like, yeah.
In his spare time, he'll just sit in a random place in the house and read Buddhist philosophy texts or whatever. So yeah, I'm very interested in theology. That man.
All right. Book recommendations.
I forgot
about this.
I recently finished a book. I forget the author. I think her name is Natsuko Imamoto or something like that. Titled "The Woman in the Purple Skirt." And it is very... So when I say it's very Japanese literature, I don't know if I mean it's actually very Japanese literature or it's very Japanese literature translated into English. Because there's like a certain style the Japanese literary writing is translated into. But if you've been reading Murakami, you may like it. It's less like dreamy, but a little... It has like the same kind of like weirdness. Yeah.
All right. My recommendation is the first book in the Mistborn series. It is one of the best books I've ever read. So it's the first book in the Mistborn series. Best book ever. Never failed to get a reader. Top one of the best fantasy books of all time. Best introduction to fantasy. Very readable. Really just checks all the boxes. I couldn't think of a... No, it's really not that thick.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, I confess, I went looking for it at the library the other day, and I didn't find it. I found a bunch of other books
By
from that
Brandon
series.
Sanderson?
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean you didn't find it?
They didn't have Mistborn, but they had like the Blade one, and then like the third book in the series, or something like that. I'm probably remembering the titles wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little scared to read it because I worry that maybe I wouldn't like it.
No, you're gonna like it.
Okay.
And also, if you don't like it, you just know it's on you, not anything bad about the book, because you're clearly in the minority. So.
All right.
You couldn't hurt my feelings about not liking it. You could just make my opinion of you lower. What is your recommendation, Danny?
Yeah, so I feel like on this show, so far we've been pretty biased towards fiction, so I'm just going to recommend a physics book.
Life is fiction. There is nothing else.
All right, let's hear the recommendation.
Yeah, so I recommend the Feynman Lectures on Physics. It's a three-book trilogy. Have you heard of it? It's like pretty famous, pretty good.
Yeah,
It's made so that it's like by Richard Feynman, who is like some physicist who's like known for his Feynman diagrams and whatnot. And he's also an okay teacher, pretty good. Yeah, so the book's written so that like no matter like what your level, it's written like a story of like physics. So you get like a really interesting like overview of physics, and no matter like what your level is, it would be like a pretty fun read. Yeah, I recommend it.
Would I be able to understand it?
I feel like most people like you'll just like read it and not long. So like there's not like too much calculations and stuff. You'll be like super confused the whole way through, but like because like yeah. So I think you should give it a try if you're interested in physics.
I'll write it down.
Yeah, it's called the Feynman Lectures on Physics. There's like the first one's on like mechanics, and then the second one's on. I've only read like the first one and a half, and then the second one's on like electricity and stuff, and then the third one's on quantum mechanics. So yeah.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
I think that is it for tonight. We've been DIY. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for listening. Commies out.
Bye.